of all, welcome everybody. This is Aloha Friday PauHana and PauHana back on the islands of Hawaii. That means we're done with work, and since Aloha Friday, everybody likes Friday. So anyway, I just run these sessions kind of off and on, either on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, or Monday, depending if I can get somebody like the awesome Nicole here to spend her time to talk to us about presentation and stuff like that. So actually, Nicole is awesome. She's been a speaker. She's helped design orgs over like PayPal and Indeed and startups. She has a great vast of knowledge. And not only that, but actually she helped me to get into Toastmasters and really own it. And basically, if it wasn't for her to put me on that path, I wouldn't be able to actually do my first conference before I went over to Istanbul.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. So, we have more. Hang on for a minute. Okay, we have Jack. Hang on. Okay, we have Nicole, Chan, Jack, Jen, Manis, and Norman. Hey, Jack.
Hello.
How are you?
Forgot I had my computer glasses on. Sorry.
Okay, so we have Jack, and do we have Norman? Okay, Norman's coming on soon. Okay. Hey, Norman. Okay, just a quick little introduction. Okay, this is Art and Nicole, and you know me, Manis, Chang, Jennifer's in the middle, Jack, and Norman. Okay, Norman and Jack, can you guys see Nicole's bio in the chat?
On the chat. My chat box is empty.
Okay, there you go. I just did it again.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, I just did it again, just in case.
Yep.
So sorry, guys. So anyway, I was just trying to introduce Nicole. That basically she's worked at PayPal, Indeed, startup. She has 17 experience over mass of just helping design orgs and designers. Like she helped me at PayPal trying to get better at speaking, and she helped me get into Toastmasters, and she's like the highest level at like Toastmasters, everything. She's an awesome human being. She's one smart cookie. So take her advice, really listen. Really listen to her words, because I wouldn't be here where I am.
I have my notebook here.
Good. Yeah, grab paper, grab anything. This will be recorded, but really, I really want this to be like a really safe space. You know, no question is a dumb question, because I ask questions all the time. So, I mean, if you don't know something, just ask it, or basically, if you don't want to ask it yourself, if you want to put it in the chat, I can ask it, and that's fine. So I will have Nicole introduce herself a little bit more, the stuff that I didn't tell. So, Nicole.
Thank you, Terry. Great intro. I am blushing over here. Appreciate all your love. So yeah, I am a design operations leader, and so basically a design program manager at the next level up. But my true passion is helping others find their voice. And for years, I was very shy and quiet. I had no confidence. And then I joined Toastmasters, and that's where I found my voice. And Toastmasters was really instrumental in helping me in my career and helping me get promoted and become better. So I'm no longer affiliated with Toastmasters, disclaimer, but I highly recommend it as a place to go every week to practice being a better speaker and being a leader as well, because we just need that practice. Like today, I'll give you my tips and tricks, but the biggest one is just practicing speaking every day and practicing, communicating well. I would love to hear from each of you. If you could just briefly introduce yourself and let me know the thing that you'd like to get out of our session today, or an issue you have with presenting or communicating that you want to work on.
Okay, so anyway, I'm just going to go in order. So, Manis.
Yeah.
You're the first one.
Okay. Well, I just kind of signed up like half an hour ago. I saw it on the Slack channel, so I had time, so I just thought I'd join. So my background is I studied graphic design and photography, so I have experience in both areas and print. So this past year, I joined Career Foundry, and I'm trying to transition from the, I guess, marketing design to UX design.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chang.
Me, I'm currently working in a like small company, like startup, as the UX UI designer. So I've been here for more than 3 years. So I'm looking for the next move. What I would expect from this session, I would like to know like your strategy when you do presentation. How do you pitch your idea to get a buy-in?
Okay. Jennifer.
Hey, I'm Jennifer. I have a background in higher education administration and career coaching. I just like to learn more about being an effective speaker, building up that confidence, as you mentioned, in speaking to others and among your peers.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Jack.
Yeah, so my background is in film and television production. I did that for like 10 years, and I just wanted to do something more creative. And so I transitioned to UI design, and I just graduated or finished the Career Foundry UI design course in February. And I met Terry through the parent channel, and we've been in contact throughout the entire course, and she's been really helpful. And she linked this in our Slack channel, and I really struggle with public speaking. I actually like have a pretty strong phobia of it when it's in person, primarily. Like when I gave a speech at my sister's wedding, I was like kind of screaming in my house, trying to write it and really freaking out about it. So I would really, the Toastmasters sounds really fascinating, and I just would really love your tips on how to speak in front of people better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and the one and only Norman.
Yeah, Norman. Background is pretty mixed. It's very diverse. So just coming out of sales and customer experience, also have a little bit of sales and marketing too thrown in there. I've been designing for quite some time on and off, but just graduated from the Career Foundry courses with UX design. Now I've just been kind of like, connecting with everyone and staying in connection with Terry and my career coach and everybody else that I've kind of, sorry, flies bother me. I'm outside. So yeah, I'm just trying to just learn how to kind of have more of like a confidence in speaking in front of people too. I kind of just like, freeze up when I'm in front of groups or large crowds, like what I'm doing right now. I kind of ramble too. So just wanted to see what your thoughts are and how you structure your speeches.
Sure. Okay.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. And then also, too, if you guys have any more questions, you guys could have put it in the chat. If you just want to not anybody else see it, you can go to the two and just put my name in there, and then you'll do of it privately, just in case. You guys probably know, but I don't want to assume. Okay. Nicole.
Thanks, Mama. Okay, so I'll start with some really basic presentation tips. And one thing you should know, and it's in my bio. I've taught public speaking for the past 10 years, but to adults with disabilities at a school called College of Adaptive Arts. And I think the reason why that is significant is because the disabled population is generally not heard and not seen. And a lot of my students are considered nonverbal. And that's not really true. What happens is they speak like one word at a time, or they have a really heavy speech impediment. And so when they're in my class, it is a challenge. But I always tell this story about one of my students, Renee. She was one of my early students, and she has Down syndrome. And I got everybody up, much like I did now, and had everybody introduce themselves. And Renee was up there, and she does this thing where she fidgets with her clothes. And she was up there. It was like I was starting to sweat. I was so nervous because I wanted her to be successful. And she stood up there for maybe about a minute or two. And then finally she said, barf. And so her mom was there and she said, oh, Renee, nobody wants to hear about, your surgery and how you threw up. I'm like, yes, I do. And that was the start of Renee's path to becoming a more confident speaker. And so she kept taking my class over the years. And her mom recently told me that at a family event, Renee got up and talked about how she loved her grandpa and she liked going to church. Like she was just speaking freely to her family, and she had never done that before. And so that's just those kinds of things. Hearing about how, Terry, how you spoke at the conference, those are the things that make me feel good. So this is what I tell my class. The first thing I teach them, the most important thing is to relax. And so, Jack, you mentioned that, sounds like you and Norman, you get super nervous before you have to speak. Just want you to know that will never go away. You will likely always be nervous. When I have to speak in front of a big crowd, I still get nervous. The difference is, if you know how to calm yourself down and relax, you can channel your nervousness into positive energy and you will be more of an engaging speaker. So breathing is the key. And so I teach an exercise with my class called the 4x4. But before I do that with you guys, when you're nervous, what happens is your muscles tense up. And so especially your muscles in your throat. And sometimes for me, when I'm nervous, my voice goes a little higher. Sometimes it might crack. Your blood pressure goes up, your breath quickens, and your body thinks it's in danger. And so what breathing does is when you take big, deep yoga breaths, it decreases your metabolism. So it starts slowing things down. Your heart's beat slower and your muscles relax and your blood pressure decreases. And so you will still feel that nervousness in your tummy, but you'll be a little calmer. And so here's how to do it. So if you sit in your chair or wherever you are, nice straight back, and everybody do this with me. We're going to breathe through our nose for 4 counts. And then we're going to exhale through our mouth for 4 counts. Actually, no, sorry. Breathe through your nose for 4 counts, hold it for 4 counts, and then exhale for 4 counts. That's called the 4x4. So we're going to start. Ready?
Yep.
And hold it. Exhale. Doesn't that first breath feel good? And so we're going to do it. We're going to do it 3 more times together. Ready? Breathe in. Hold. Exhale. Last 2. Breathe in. Hold. Exhale. And now last breath. Breathe in. Hold. Exhale. Just take a moment. Now, this is something that you can do in your seat before you're called up to present, and it can really help center you. The other thing about your breath is your breath connects to your voice, which can help with your volume. So volume's an issue I've always had problems with. I have an uncle who, whenever I talk, he'd always be like, huh? What? What'd you say? And so after I learned how to be louder and not scream, but just increase my volume, and that's helped him lower his hearing piece. So relaxation is the first part. And now confidence. Confidence is, you can fake it. I'm terrible at faking it, but some things that can help you with your confidence is your body language. So there are things that we do that show that we're nervous. So fidgeting is nervous, is shows you're nervous. And I'm gonna stand up and, all right. So when you're up in front of a room presenting, you want to have a neutral stance. And so your feet should be about shoulder width apart, and then your hands just at your sides hanging. And now this feels very awkward and weird, but it should look normal to all of you. Like for the audience, they're not going to think anything. But if you do this, if you play with your hair, or even when you do this, it communicates different things. So hands behind your back, sometimes the audience might feel you're hiding something. You can also clasp your hands in front of you, but I prefer to have my hands open because it can help you gesture. And normally when people speak, they gesture. And it doesn't have to be like craziness, but depending on what you're speaking about, your gesture should just be natural and emphasize what you're talking about. Let's see. Oh, big no-no. Never this. Never, never, never. Don't do that. Because you look closed off. And I don't know if you watch the news, but Donald Trump frequently, if you've asked a question that he is not either not prepared to answer or is defensive about, he immediately goes to this. If he feels scared or intimidated, he's very much closes off because you're trying to protect yourself. All right, I'm going to stop there. Any questions either about the breathing or the confidence?
Only that I feel a lot better after the breathing.
Oh, good.
It helped. It helped.
Yeah. In my class, a lot of my students have anxiety. And so we do the routine in my class is when we start out, I play like this high energy song and we just all dance. And we're doing virtual classes now with the whole COVID thing. And so everybody's just dancing, and that really warms everybody up. And then we do stretching and breathing to help relax everyone and connect them to their voice. So there's a lot on posture and gestures I can do. I can't stress enough, shoulders back and head up and eye contact is also a good indicator of confidence. If you're looking down, if you have your paper and you're looking at your speech, that's, first of all, people can't hear you well because you're talking into the paper, but it also is very distracting. You want to project to the audience. So with speaking, there's two things I always evaluate. It's the content and delivery. And the content obviously is your actual speech, or if you're doing, even when you're doing a design review, I've coached a lot of designers on how to be better at design reviews. Just sharing your work is a presentation. And there's a way you can structure it so you tell the story of the user, right? Because if you're a UX designer, your primary goal is to make the user experience better. And so when you frame your design in terms of the user and tell that story, it really makes a more effective design review and is better received. Let's see, who was it? Chang, you wanted strategy on presentation, so how to pitch to get buy-in, right?
Yeah, yes.
tell me more about what you maybe a challenge that you have around that. Like what is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, so sometimes like I guess this it has to talk about the design. Sometimes you just talk about the design, especially in a room of all people from different departments. So like everybody has a perspective in terms of like design, even they're not designer. But so you're trying to have your idea to pitch to them, but everybody kind of like, contribute, oh, you should do this, to should do that. So if you're not in a position like a manager or the CEO, then it feels like what you talk about is not that important. Then you're not the one who make the decision. So as a designer, it feels a little bit difficult to just like persuade them. I guess part of my like tips or strategy is to like give them like more like in terms of like user experience of what's a user story here, what's the problem we're trying to solve here, what's the goal we're trying to achieve, and they give a little bit background and data to support what you're going to pitch to them. But sometimes you feel like a little bit difficult.
Yeah, that's a thing that I've encountered throughout my entire career is designers struggling to persuade the business folks on their design and not get just random input on the actual design. I mean, it's fine for people to share their opinions.
Yeah.
Everybody has one, but what's it based in? And I think the most effective design reviews I've seen is when the designer shares their process. And so you all have a process that you go through to come to the final solution. And when you don't have to go into detail about it, but when you say, oh, all right, so generally, let's see, I used to be at eBay, I was the design program manager for the design systems team. And their process was, you're assigned, say, a form, a calendar. We did a calendar component. And so first they did an internal audit. Where did this calendar show up across the eBay site? Which areas? Then they did an external audit. How do calendars appear in other similar e-commerce sites? And so these were artifacts that they produced. And then once they did that, and then through conversation with the team, then they would start doing their design iterations, and they would just mock up different things. And there was a rationale behind each mock-up they did of the calendar. And so at the end, when they got to, and then everybody would talk about it together during design reviews. And these were our team design reviews. And then when we shared it with product and our leadership, the designer was able to say, this is the solution we're recommending, and this is why. And he'd be able to articulate clearly why they chose this calendar form over a different one. Mm-hmm. And when you're able to show your thought process, people have more confidence in and trust in what you're coming up with versus, well, I just kind of liked it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, persuading product, especially, and it always depends on the product manager too. A lot of them can be helpful and some not so helpful. Any questions on that? Okay.
Okay. Who's
All
next?
Right. Thank you.
Next question. Jennifer, I'm going to pick, don't mean to pick on you, but like, I want to make sure everybody gets other question answered as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So Jennifer, you said you wanted to learn more about being an effective speaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think especially when you're presenting in front of like your peers and colleagues, I think that's like the hardest because I don't know, like the confidence levels drops, and then you kind of feel like a sense of judgment, and like then you have to validate what you say, and I just find difficulty with that.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, I think everybody goes through that. And there's just, the more you do it, the less you'll be worried and the more confidence will go up, I think. But anyway, I'll let Nicole answer that more.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. The more you do it, it definitely helps your confidence. A way to get there, though, I think one thing you should remember is that you are the expert in what you know, right? Like, you know your stuff. Like, I don't know you at all since we just met, but I'm going to assume that you know your stuff. And so preparing for your presentation will help a lot. And I'm sure you do. And then practicing, and I have rehearse on here as one of my tips. No matter what you're presenting on, it's always helpful to rehearse before you do it, just so you can you can walk through either your slides or whatever is the thing that you're presenting on. It'll help you find the words that you need to say. There's a quote I always use, and I forgot who was it, Zig Ziglar. He said there are 3 speeches that you'll give. There's the speech that you rehearse, there's a speech that you actually give, and the speech that you wish you had given. And so when you're giving your presentation, it'll be different from what you rehearsed, most likely, unless you're reading from a paper, and that's a no-no, don't do that. But that's okay, because the people watching don't know. And so I think as long as you are able to back up your assertions with evidence, But the other thing is the other side of it. So I started with content. Now delivery is the other side. And you can have the best content in the world, but if you deliver it poorly, then people will lose confidence in what you're saying. So some things for delivery you should be aware of. And I've done this many times since we've started, that's called a verbal crutch. We all have different ones. I also say and so. So I connect my sentences with and so. And I learned that through Toastmasters. In Toastmasters, you have an ah counter. And whoever gets up and speaks, they literally tick down every an ah and other verbal tick you have. Mm-hmm. And that's great because it makes you aware. And that awareness is key. So if you find that you say a lot when you're talking in meetings, ask one of your colleagues that you trust if they could track how many times you say in a meeting. I've done that for people. And
there's ahs, and so, or like is another one. Like is huge. Mm-hmm. Well, and you talk, like, and you then they say like, and you're like, okay, so you like, yeah. So like is a big one.
Yeah.
I've recorded myself before a speech one time, and it's really helpful to kind of see that when you play it back.
Yeah, absolutely. For the big ones, when you really have to nail it, recording is great. Although I hate watching myself on recordings. I'm like, do I sound like that?
But when you record, it helps so much. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time. If you do it 1 or 2, 3 times at the max, and you really look in a quiet space and you just focus, you're like, ew, that's what I do with my hair, or that's what I do with this, or that's what I do with that. And you start to understand and record that little blurb in your head not to do it again.
Yeah. One thing I found out, so as I got deeper into Toastmasters and I started reading books about speaking and watching other speakers, and also looking at how actors prepare and comedians, because that's a profession where you're up in front of people performing, right? It's very similar to speaking, public speaking. And a lot of comedians and actors will stand in the mirror and just make different faces in the mirror just to see what their face looks like. I heard John Belushi. Everybody know John Belushi? Okay, so he's a comedian. He did it. He would look in the mirror for hours, and like he did this thing with his eyebrow, which I cannot do, but he'd raise his eyebrow and just make funny faces for hours. And so when you're rehearsing a speech, it's good to look in the mirror and talk to yourself and see what your face looks like. In public speaking, there's this thing called vocal variety, and there are 4 pieces to it. One is volume, one is pace, and pace is how fast or slow you're speaking. There's pitch, which is how high or how low you're talking. I say pitch, pace. Oh, and tone. Tone is emotion, the emotion you show. When I was like early in my Toastmasters career, I was just very monotone throughout my speeches, and I get that feedback a lot. And so I started reading my daughter's. I read to my daughter every night for bed, but I would create like different voices for the characters, and that helped me practice my vocal variety. And so when you're delivering a speech, even if it's a dry business speech, you can still inject energy and excitement by varying your tone and your inflection on certain things, by using hand gestures to emphasize a point. We're going to be here in October versus here now, stuff like that. And another way to practice vocal variety, another thing I used to do is and I do it in my class too, an exercise called blah, blah. So instead of saying words, you just say blah, blah. And I'll have my students speak angrily using blah, blah, or sad using blah, blah. So blah, 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 blah. And then they'll have conversations with each other just saying blah, blah. And just really honing in on how to project emotion when you talk helps, because you're not going to be like crazy emotive in a business speech, but it'll help you learn how to use tone when you present. Any questions on that at all?
No, thank you.
A lot of the things I do in my class are super silly and probably super embarrassing. Like if we were in a class and I would have you do things, you'd be very embarrassed, but it's okay because we're all supposed to be doing it, and it all helps build on those specific skills that help you be a better speaker. Would you guys like to try an activity?
Okay, sure.
Okay, good. All right. Hold on. Let me open this up. Let's see. You may talk amongst yourselves while I get this done.
Okay, so while Nicole is doing that, I would love for everybody here that's on here to actually connect on LinkedIn, or if you guys want to put your handle in LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram or whatever, because this is how we start to network, to know each other and stuff like that. So I'll start.
All right. You guys ready? Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing that really helps is practicing articulation. And articulation is so you can speak more clearly. Actually, let me do this, and then I'll share my screen. So I have some tongue twisters. Oh, can you enable screen sharing, Terry?
Yeah, how? You should be
It says
able to
host has
do it.
disabled screen sharing.
Oh, hang on. Where are you? Okay, hang on. Okay, I'm trying to find everybody on the participants, but there we go. Nicole, I'm going to put you as make host. So now you can screen share.
Okay. Nice. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me open up the participant window so I can see your faces. All right. So, Terry, you're
Yes.
Let's see. Hold on a second. Okay. So, you're going to say this 3 times as fast as you can and try to say every word correctly.
Okay. She sold 6 shabby sheep on a ship. She sold 6 shabby sheep on a ship. She sold 6 shabby sheep on a ship.
All right. Awesome.
Pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
That was fun.
All right. Who's next?
Oh, it changes. It changes for each person.
Yes.
I'll go. Honey, I'm going to do a tongue twister. The big, beautiful blue balloon burst. The big, beautiful balloon. Oh, shit. Sorry. The big, beautiful blue balloon burst. The big, beautiful blue balloon burst. The big, beautiful balloon burst. That's
Awesome.
hard.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I kept missing blue.
All right. Let's see. Oh. One now. Next. Okay. Who's next?
I'll go. A proper pot of coffee in a proper pot of coffee. A proper pot of coffee in a proper pot of coffee. A proper pot of coffee in a proper pot of coffee.
Good. Right on.
Yeah.
Good job. Okay.
Okay, I'll go.
Go ahead.
4 fine fresh fish for you. 4 fine fresh fish for you. 4 fine fresh fish for you.
I can do this one. Find fresh fish. Okay.
It's difficult.
You want to do this one or you want to do the next one?
Jennifer?
Oh, I thought I just did it.
Oh, you
must have
good.
been
Okay, who didn't go?
Yes, the SH is hard. She should shun in the shining sun. She should shun in the shining sun. She should shun in the shining sun.
All right. Good job.
Awesome. Yay,
Great.
everybody.
So tongue twisters are actually a thing that actors do also before they, as part of their warm up before they do their thing. And so I find it's a good way to loosen people up and have some laughter in the class as well. Let's see. We're at 10:30 now, so we have about 14 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other specific questions anyone has?
Well, actually, I have one. If nobody wants to go, do you have any tips to organize a speech, number one, and number two, if you're block on something, if you want to come up with an idea to write about or even to talk about, what is your process or what are the tips about that?
So let's start with speech organization. Every speech, every story has the same basic format. There's the introduction, and there's the body, and then there's the conclusion, right? Those three blocks. And the introduction for speech specifically, that's when you want to grab your audience's attention. And so that's when you say you could do this different ways. So there's this thing called attention grabber. It could be a quote, it could be a question, it could be something shocking, some shocking revelation. And then, because when you start speaking, the audience decides in the first few seconds whether or not it's worth their time to finish listening to you. And so the first thing you tell them should grab their attention long enough so you can tell them why they should listen to you. And that's the next part of the introduction. It's why they're there. Like, what are you going to talk about? What will they get out of your speech? So let's see, for example, speech I gave, I would often give a speech about Toastmasters. And I would start out by who here doesn't like getting up who here likes getting up in front of everybody to speak? And people would look, some would raise their hand, most wouldn't, but everybody would be looking at me. Because when you ask a question, even if somebody's looking at their phone, they'll be like, oh, question. Do I have to, me? So they'll look up for that moment. And then I go into, what would I say? I don't have my specific speech, but I would generally, the key thing is by the end of the speech, you'll understand how Toastmasters can help you become a more confident speaker and a better leader. And then in your body, you have remember from college, your thesis statement, and then 2 pieces of evidence. Well, it depends, but at least 1 piece of evidence within that thesis statement. So at Toastmasters, you will learn how to structure a speech. and then I would talk about how the book guides you in, and then teaches you how to do that. Plus, we have mentors available. Another effective thing, Terry, is telling stories. And it's harder to create that speech, but when it's done effectively, it's really great because people love stories. And so if you tell your speech in story format, it's really good. And then the conclusion is tell them, just go over what you told them before. Don't introduce new information in your conclusion. It's all, this is what we went over. And then always end it with a call to action. So they just learned something. Now what should they do with this thing that they learn? So go out and find your local, go to toastmasters.org and find your local club and join and get on the road to becoming a better speaker. And so that's the basic structure. How I create my outlines, I've tried different things. I've used this bubble format, which is kind of like a mind map. And it's just visually, it's, I think, a little more helpful to understand how things are connected. I've also done it just bullet form, which helps me too. And then you also asked me, how do I come up with speech topics?
Mm-hmm. Topics are just ideas when you're blocked sometimes, because sometimes as designers, if we're trying to build up our new portfolio or we want to revisit it, and sometimes I feel like, at least for me, I get blocked. It's like, well, like, what can I do? What can I, so maybe the speech, having the content and what you're going to do, because they do go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Start with the things that you're passionate about.
Okay.
what are the things that you love that you could ramble on forever about? Always start there. And, or out of that, what is something that you don't know a lot about, but want to learn more about? That gives you the opportunity to do research and really understand that topic. Because if you're able to teach a new topic to someone else through speech or what have you, then you know that you're on the way to mastering that topic.
I like that one. I really do, because that kind of does everything like fast. You're learning something, you're teaching something, but not only you're teaching, but you're practicing, you're writing, and you're talking, and then you have a project at the end.
Yeah.
I like that one. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so it's 10:38. Any more questions? Don't be shy.
Yeah, I have one. What advice would you give for, I guess, people that are interviewing that need to present to, I don't know, a group of people? I haven't done so yet, so any advice on that?
I have been going through that the past month. It's brutal. Amazon, that's a tough day. It's an all-day thing. Definitely practice. Generally, in portfolio reviews, everyone is super nice. Like, I haven't experienced any negative things during portfolio reviews. Be prepared to answer questions. So if you make an assertion about something, be prepared for people to dig into that thing that you made an assertion about. And let's see. And I mean, the same delivery tips that I gave you earlier are still apply. So, good posture, make eye contact. Like, even on VC, even though it's hard for you guys to tell that I'm looking at all of you, I am looking at all of you. But especially if you're in the room, make sure you look at everybody in the room to make, it pulls them in. And if they're distracted, if they see you looking at them, they will pay more attention. And no fidgeting, none of this. Let's see. Other tips for portfolio reviews.
Be confident when you talk.
Yeah. And remember, you are the expert. Whenever you're speaking because you're the presumed expert on the topic that you're there to speak about. And so don't be afraid to, double down on something that you're presenting on. Like, you own it. That's all you.
Mm-hmm. But just say, if they do ask you a question that like you're not sure of, it's okay to say, I haven't gotten that far yet, but that's a very great point, right?
Yeah.
Is there something like that?
Yeah,
you can say?
Yeah. One thing I always, first of all, I'm a terrible liar, so I can't lie during those things. Some people are really great at it, but if I don't know something, I cop to it, because you can see right through me if it's not great. Yeah, but saying you don't know is totally fine.
Okay, so we have 4 minutes left. Chang, Jennifer, Jack, Norman, any more questions? Anything that pop in your head? Was this valuable tips for you? Okay, yeah, definitely connect with Nicole on LinkedIn. She has tons of tips. She's a great, fabulous resource. I cannot highly stress that. And people that will be watching this later, connect with her. Connect. It's all about finding your next gig. Is pretty much people that you know, right? Right, Nicole?
Absolutely.
So that's why I want to do this every weekend or every Aloha Friday. Get the connections. Have you guys come out of your shell more, talk to people, ask those questions, just be brave. So Jack, I'm going to put you on the spot. because I know you don't like talking in front of people, but but you know me. Pushy, but good pushy. One last question. You got to have something in there. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, yeah, I really don't know if I have another question. Everyone else asked so many good questions. I really
Okay.
enjoyed the thing about confidence, the fact that maybe I don't feel confident, but
Good.
knowing that I can convey confidence through my posture, that was really important to know for me, because I 100% know I'm not gonna feel confident, but if I can trick the people into knowing just by like keeping my feet shoulder width apart and not putting my hands behind my back, it was really cool seeing the visual. Actually, that was really helpful. But I don't know if I mean, I haven't interviewed and I'm really nervous about doing interviews. So Manus's question was really applicable to me.
Jack, how many people do you know on Slack right now?
How many people do I know on Slack?
Yeah, right now. Like maybe what, 4 or 5, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say a ton, but
Okay,
I have
5.
been in the last 2 weeks. I've been like really gung ho about networking because I just finished the job prep course, and it was saying like 80% of your work is actually going to come from your network, and that like shocked me. And so I was like, okay, got to get on the network. So I sent out a thing on. I'm sorry, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So you know 5 people on Slack, and now you know of an extra 5 people. Write down our names. Make an appointment with us. 15 minutes. Take one question, break it down, and practice with different people. Again.
Wait, so take a question. Wait, so do 15 minutes with like Manus or something, like a little video time, but like go into it with a question for Manus?
No, have Manus ask you of an interview question, and you practice that question with like 10 different people. So you get used to how to answer different voice, that's what I did. I know it sounds crazy and it sounds
good.
And it sounds weird, but the more you talk to people, you'll get out of that funk. You'll get out of that. That's why when like Nicole told me, go do Toastmasters, and I did. And basically every single time I went in that meeting, I made myself give up. I did every single speech every time I went. I went through Toastmasters within like 3 months.
It's funny. I really want to do Toastmasters now, and it's like, or I wonder if they're doing it virtually because
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are.
And it's funny because I haven't heard Toastmasters since I actually like ran into a Toastmasters meeting at like some government building or something. I was like, what's going on in that room? And I was like, what the heck is Toastmasters? And
it's awesome.
I looked it up, and I remember thinking, that would be really helpful for me. I have to give my sister's wedding speech in like 2 months or something. And I never did. And it's funny how you like know you need something, like, you know, that would really help me if I just did Toastmasters, but you never take the step to do it.
Don't ignore that. Don't ignore your intuition. Don't ignore, well, I need to do this. Then do it. The longer you do it, the longer you won't get to your goals. And you wonder why, like, oh, well, how come it's not doing? Because you're not doing the work. It's all about doing the work.
Yeah.
Period.
One last thing I want, since seems like a lot of us are out job hunting. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the STAR method, responding to interview questions. It means, oh shoot, let's see. Hold on. I learned this like years ago, but it is a really good way to talk about your work history. Let's see, STAR, where is it? Okay, so the S stands for scene, so you want to set the scene. The T stands for the task that you had to do. The A stands for the action that you took, and the R stands for the result. And so the way the script goes, actually, I'm going to paste this in the chat so you can have it. So when I was a DPM at PayPal, we had a project that was running late. We had a super important project, and the project was running late because the product manager didn't give us the requirements in time. And so I was able to bring the team together and get everybody on the same page and get us back on track. And we launched the project on time. And so that's a real succinct way of talking about a situation. So you're not rambling. Who said they were rambling? Was that Manis? Was that earlier? Or was it Chang? Oh, Norman. So if you do tend to ramble, if you can think about times in your work history when you've had to deal with a challenge and put it in the context of the STAR method, that will go over well in your interviews. So Google STAR method also, there's a lot of articles about how to do that.
Thank you for that. I'll
Yeah,
definitely look
that's
more
good.
into that. That'll help me with my rambling. I tend to notice that during interviews. I'm like, I'm going to stop now. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If anybody has any follow-up questions, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to chat with you.
Sure.
Will you be doing any future Zoom events that I should?
Norm, you're breaking up. But I heard the question. Am I doing any
Oh, I'm
future?
sorry. My internet.
Norman,
Uh-oh.
you're on mute now.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to do any future like events like this, or like on Zoom, or just be like a continue like a thing that will be happening next week or a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. We can definitely set something up. You guys just email me and then I can bring Nicole back. Absolutely. If she has time and she wants to and you guys feel there's a need, absolutely. I'll definitely set it up.
Yeah, love stuff like this. Totally do it again.
Okay, Norman, you're like totally frozen. So I hope we answered your question. Did you hear us? Yeah, okay, that's fine. No, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, so anyway, we're going to wrap this up. So Nicole, I want to say thank you so much for sharing. And then Norman, Jack, Chang, Jennifer, everybody, thank you so much. And we'll definitely have her back. Aloha.
Yeah, thank you so much.